team, I hope you're all well. Today we are going to be doing my best books of 2022 and I'm very excited. This was not an easy video to decide on. I did go through my ratings for some of these and some of them changed because my views on them had changed throughout the year, but I am really hyped. You will notice that this list is very romance heavy. I think we've got two cozy mysteries, no, two cozy fantasies even. We've got two cozy fantasies, we've got a thriller, and we have a fantasy romance, and the rest is all contemporary romance. So I am very excited about this list and I'm really happy with how it went as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in 10th place we do have White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. I absolutely adored this book. I read this while I was on holiday in Dominican Republic with Andy and it was such a good time. It was like the perfect holiday read as well. I don't know why. I just love reading thrillers and horrors on holiday. I had such a good time with it. This is very much a Carrie reimagining. If you've read Carrie by Stephen King or watched the movie, it's very much so a Carrie reimagining. We're following Marigold, who lives with her dad, and she's basically been passing for white for most of her life, and she ends up in school one day, the rain comes down and her hair like puffs up, and basically she ends up with a lot of racist abuse essentially because she's been passing for white. Her dad is white, her mum was black, but her mum died and she's been, because of her dad passing for white, she starts to embrace her blackness, and she continues to do that throughout the book despite the racial abuse that she gets. And then one of the popular guys asks her to prom. Now, this is where the similarities come in with Carrie because it becomes very dark. The abuse and the bullying that she gets at school is incredibly dark. It's incredibly horrific and violent, and I just loved it. I just loved it. It was so good. The story, everything, the oppression and the racism, and just the way that everything was dealt with in this book, personally I think was very good, and I just really enjoyed this story, and I was just rooting for Marigold all the way through the book. I really was, and I just really enjoyed it. I had such a good time reading this one. It was quite fast paced. There is also an element of a podcast in here, so I would recommend the audiobook. So I really loved this one. And on Corpile, which is a rating system which has been made by G, and I have used it now for the last 2 years and absolutely love it. This did get a 9.43, which is like a pretty high 5-star. So I just really enjoyed it, and it got number 10, top 10, got number 10. Very happy. Nicely done, Miss Tiffany D. Jackson. Next, in 9th place, we do have Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Now, I know that this is quite a taboo book for some people, but I loved this book. I loved it. I read it for my birthday week because I thought it would be apt to read this in the week that I am birthday girl. And I had such a good time with it. I really enjoyed it. It's been on my shelves for a really long time, and I'm glad that I finally got to it. On Corpile, this also got a 9.43. I just enjoyed it just a little bit more than White Smoke. Not a great deal more, but a little bit more. It was a fight for number 9. But this one follows Jordan and Pike. Basically, Jordan is dating Pike's son, and they need to move in with him. So they end up losing their place. They need to move in with him, and she kind of makes it very clear that she's willing to do whatever it takes to kind of help out with the house, cooking, cleaning, everything, because she feels like she's out of place within this house. And then Pike is obviously Jordan's partner's dad, and they end up really liking each other. This is where the taboo-ness comes in. They end up really liking each other, and things kind of go on from there. But it's not as like, I know it's taboo in the sense that it's her partner's dad, but it's not taboo in the sense that there's any cheating goes on between these two, because there isn't. So if that's what you're worried about going into this, there isn't. They don't cheat on her partner. There's passing glances, there's things that are very lightly said, there's nothing like intimately said or anything, and then something happens between her and her partner, and then things go down that route. I don't know what to say other than without spoiling it, but I fucking love this book. This was amazing. It was so good. I really enjoyed the way that it was done. I was very concerned going in that there was going to be some cheating within here, and I wasn't happy about that situation, but luckily that wasn't the case between Jordan and Pike. Anyway, so I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was done with very well. A very taboo subject, but I felt like it was done really well, and I love Penelope Douglas's writing style anyway. I already know that, so I had a really good time with this one. Really enjoyed it, and it got 9th place in my top 10. Coming in at number 8 was a Becca influence, which, to be fair, Birthday Girl could be classed as a Becca influence as well, but this was massively a Becca influence because she was reading it at the time and she was like, Steph, you are going to love this book. So I picked it up and then smashed the book, and it was Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. I absolutely love this. I think I read this within like a 48-hour period or something. I just couldn't put it down. It was outstanding, and it's all Becca's fault, so thank you, Becca. This also got a 9.43, but again, I liked it just a little bit more than Birthday Girl. This one follows Leon and Ray. Leon is a demon. Ray is a young girl. She's not a young girl, she's a young woman that goes to college, and she's always believed in the supernatural, but more so ghosts. Hunting for ghosts are her passion. However, she obviously comes across Leon, who is a demon, and they end up building a relationship. It starts off enemies and becomes lovers, but I just loved this. I thought it was fantastic. I loved Leon, I loved Ray, I loved the side characters who we're going to get in Her Soul for Revenge, which is the next one, and I'm really looking forward to picking that one up as well. But I just had a great time with this book. The smut in here is outstanding. 10 out of 10. It was so good, and I just really love the little details in the book as well. Very beautiful. I read this on Kindle Unlimited, but I had to have physical copies because they're so pretty. Look at how pretty these covers are, and I just absolutely love this. This was the fantasy romance that I was talking about, so had a great time with this one. 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously all of these books are 5 out of 5 stars. Then for book number 7, we did have the book that was sitting at the top of my top books of the favourite book of the year list for a really long period of time as well. But as the year's gone on, the ratings come down ever so slightly, not much, but ever so slightly, and that is The Family You Make by Jill Sharvis. I know at the beginning of this year, and probably for the first 6 months of the year, I did nothing but bang on about this book, but I fucking loved it. It was so good. This was like probably the most surprising book of the year because I had never heard of Jill Sharvis, I'm not gonna lie. She's got the longest backlist I've probably seen in a long time for romance books, and I thought this was a debut novel, and when Headline reached out to ask me did I want to read and review this book, I was like, yeah, sure, go on, why not, it sounds good. Not expecting it to be one of my favourite books of the year, and it fucking was. I absolutely loved it. So in this book, we start off following Levi and Jane, who end up stuck on a ski lift with each other. They are strangers, complete strangers, but Levi's pretty convinced that this could be the end. So he phones his family and they ask if he's on his own, and he's like, no, I'm with my girlfriend Jane, blah, blah, blah. They survive. So lo and behold, he now has to pretend that he's fake dating Jane. Well, he now has to pretend that he's dating Jane. They fake date, my favourite thing, fake dating, and they end up getting to know each other. And as we all know, we know where the fake dating trope goes. That's basically what happens. Sounds simple, sounds very simple, your everyday fake dating book. However, the thing that I love about what Jill Sharvis does is she brings all the side characters in and makes the main characters, and I fucking loved it. So we got Levi's sister involved, who was going through a divorce, a really hard divorce. She's got a daughter and she's really struggling. We've got Jane's flatmate, who is not so much having a relationship with the next door neighbour, which I fucking loved. That was awesome. We have Levi's parents, who are just fantastic and my favourite characters of the whole book, and I think Levi's brother as well, if I'm correct in saying so. And what I love is that they're all main characters. I just love it. The main characters are Levi and Jane, but they all get involved and we get all of their side stories as well, and I just loved this book. I was laughing, I was crying, I just had the best time, and it was so good. And this is why it was, because it was one of the first books I read of the year, this is why it was at the top of the list for a longest time this year, and I just absolutely adored it. The Family You Make by Jill Sharvis. This is the first in the Sunrise Cove series. I've read the second one as well. that was also 5 stars. Just didn't quite make it to the top 10, but I'm very excited for the backup plan, which I have an e-arc of and comes out on the 17th of January. So keep your eyes open for that if you're interested. Now we're on to book number 6, and it is A Very Merry Bromance by Lyssa Kay Adams. I fucking love this series, the Bromance book club series. I'm so excited to get Colton's story because we've seen so much of him, and we've seen so much of his character development throughout the stories. Okay, the battery died, my apologies. This one follows a group of guys that are in a book club, and they basically read romance books to help themselves be better lovers to their partners and just better people in general. Now, I know that some people have read this and seen it as manipulation. I understand where they're coming from, but for me, if my partner started reading romance books so that he could better understand how to be a better partner, or, you know, understand maybe mood swings a little bit more or something similar to that, I don't know, I would be buzzing, honestly. If he just picked them up just because I like them, I'd be buzzing about that fact as well. But in general, they have this book club. They're all reasonably famous for different things. We've got an NHL player, there was I think there's an NFL player or a baseball player. Oh yeah, baseball player, the first guy, he's a baseball player. In this one, we're following Colton Wheeler, who is oh my god, I totally knew his name as well, country singer, and we've seen him through the rest of the books kind of grow from being a massive dick and just not really understanding women at all to being a really, really decent guy. Like, I absolutely adore his book. I am obsessed with the fact that we finally get his book, and this is basically a second chance romance, kind of enemies to lovers as well. They have a one night stand a few years prior, or a year prior, I can't remember, him and Gretchen, the woman that we're following in this book, at a wedding from one of the other guys, essentially, and we follow him. She basically has to try and ask him to be the face of her family company's brand, which is a whiskey brand, but she's got a lot of family issues, and she's working through a lot of shit, and she doesn't really want to be there. She doesn't want to be talking to Colton. She's trying to stay away from him, and slowly but surely they end up together. I just loved this book. I loved everything about it. I loved Colton because we've been following him from the beginning, and we've seen him grow so much throughout all of the books. I love how much he's already grown as a person before his actual book, which is fantastic. And I loved the relationship between Colton and Gretchen as well, and the shit that was going down with her and her family and the way he dealt with it. Fantastic. Absolutely love this book. Love Lyssa Kay Adams' writing style. She can do no wrong for me. I've loved all of the books in this series, and I'll buy anything else that she comes out with. So very excited to see what she comes up with next. Then we do have Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which again had #1 spot for a period of time, but did get knocked down a few pegs, which is a shame. But in this one, we're following Nora and also Charlie. Nora's an editor, if I remember correctly, but so is Charlie, and they've had issues in the past with like poaching clients a little bit and things like that. So they're not on the best of terms. However, Nora's sister, Libby, is having some problems at home, and she asks Nora to go away with her for the month of August to a very small, quaint town called Sunshine Falls in North Carolina. Nora agrees because she's worried about her sister, and when she gets there she realises that Charlie is there as well, and she hasn't been able to figure out why Charlie is there. There is a lot of underlying things going on in here, and the main focus, I would say, for me isn't necessarily her and Charlie's relationship. It's actually her and Libby's relationship, and I really enjoyed that side of things. I enjoyed the relationship going on with Charlie and everything that happened with that, but I actually loved the sisterhood bonding thing going on as well, and there were so many other bits to tie into this, and I love the small town vibes. I always love the small town vibes, but I just really enjoyed this. Again, Emily Henry so far can do no wrong for me. Don't get me wrong, I haven't read some of her older stuff like A Million Junes yet. I really want to pick that one up. She's done a couple of other books as well, one with the title, it's got the word splendid in it. I can't remember what the title is. Haven't read those either. I think I'm going to go back and do A Million Junes, but I don't know if I'm going to read that one just because it's a YA one, and I'm not fully into YA anymore, but I am keen on A Million Junes because I've heard incredible things. But so far I'm absolutely loving Emily Henry's books. I think they've all had 5 stars. Beach read, People We Meet on Vacation, or You and Me on Vacation, whether you've got the UK or US edition. I've got both. as you can see, are book lovers. I've loved them all, given them all 5 stars, but absolutely loved this one. I love the writing style, I love the storyline, I loved the relationships going on in here, I loved everything. It was very, very good. In 4th spot, we do have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is a cozy fantasy. Absolutely loved this book. This was absolutely adorable. We are following an orc called Viv, and she's decided that she's worn out. She doesn't want to fight anymore. She's had enough. She wants to retire. She wants to put tools down. She wants to go to a small town and open up a coffee shop in which nobody has ever heard of coffee before. She ends up trying very, very hard to sort out this fresh start, but it's proving quite difficult with some of the people in town. And we're just following her. It's a slice of life book, but cozy fantasy, following an orc trying to open a coffee shop and just live a normal life. And I just fucking loved it. It was so, so good. It gave me all the cozy vibes. I had the best time with this. It was absolutely adorable, and I'm so glad that I picked it up. So this came in 4th place. Then in 3rd place, we did have a last runner actually in 3rd place. This is a book that I read in the middle of December, and it was The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. This is just a short novella book. It's a Christmas book, and we're following Jonathan Frost and Gabriella, and they basically work in this bookstore together. It's an indie bookstore, and they run the bookstore together. She's higher up than he is, but he's trying to get more higher up than she is. They've got an enemies to lovers thing going on, but they don't understand. Neither of them actually know why they dislike the other. She's convinced that he hates her, and he's not sure why she doesn't like him. And it's just a lot of miscommunication that gets resolved within the book. And I just loved it. There were so many different things going on in here that I really, really enjoyed. I loved the Christmas aspect. I loved the bookstore aspect, the indie bookstore aspect, and the things that they pulled off to try and keep this indie store open. I loved the relationship between these two. I loved the relationship she had with her friends. I loved the relationship they had with the bookstore owners, sorry. And I loved the fact that we also got elements that were a little bit darker in here as well. She has an ex-boyfriend who is a bit of a stalker. He's obsessed with her, and we see this come into play a little bit with some harassment and also some a little bit of a physical altercation as well. And it was just fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I loved Gabriella's personality. I loved the way that she like thawed Jonathan Frost's heart a little bit, and the way that they their relationship just built up over time. Like, it's not miscommunication in the way that pisses me off. It's miscommunication in the way that it started off as miscommunication. We come in halfway through the story, these two have no idea why they hate each other. Not a clue why they dislike each other, they just do. And then he starts being nice to her and she can't figure it out. And he's like, this is how I've always been. I just assumed you hated me. And it's so fucking good. I just loved it. It was so good. I had the best time reading this book. I couldn't put it down. And it was just great. Really, really loved it. I would highly recommend for the festive season. Very, very good book. My favourite Christmas book of the year. Outstanding. In number 2 spot, we have another cozy fantasy. Can any of you guess what it might be? Quick, guess. Were you right? It's The Very Secret Society of Regular Witches, and I adored this book. Again, it gave me all the cozy fantasy vibes that Legends and Lattes did. I just... chef's kiss, adored it. It also gave me all the cozy vibes that The House in the Cerulean Sea did. We're following a witch called Mika Moon, and basically she will meet with her coven every so often, but they meet in one place. They don't meet for very long, and she's been taught that witches should not be living together because the magic can be too powerful and it can do bad things. So she lives in a life of solidarity, essentially. It's really difficult for her to have relationships because she can't tell anyone that she's a witch, and essentially to go against that rule, she goes online pretending she's a witch. She's a witch pretending she's a witch on YouTube, which I just love. Now, this orphanage ends up coming across her YouTube channel. They could do with a witch to teach the young 3 witches that they have in their orphanage how to witch, essentially, how to magic. And they come across Mika's channel and they ask her to come in for an interview. And it's in that moment that she realises that, damn, like, these 3 witches should not be together. They should be separated. I should be phoning like my big boss lady and telling her what's going on here. But the people in this orphanage convince her not to do that, and she ends up sticking around and helping the girls out. Now, there is a romance in here as well with Jamie, who I adore. I think he's fantastic. I adore him. I love Mika and Jamie. Again, enemies to lovers. It was just really, really sweet. I loved everything about it. I loved the relationship that she had with the girls and with the people that run the orphanage. I love the people that run the orphanage. I love the reveal at the end. That was so good. And I love the relationship she has with Jamie. I just thought this was brilliant, and I absolutely adored it. It made my heart really, really happy, and I just... This book did not let me down because I was highly anticipating it. And it was one of those books where if I didn't pick it up straight away, it was probably going to be ages before I picked it up because of the hype. And it was fantastic. Book 2 on my top 10 books of the year. Outstanding. And then, I don't know if many of you are going to know this because I might have been mentioning it, I can't remember, but my favourite book of the year is a book that I wasn't anticipating to be my favourite book of the year, but I cannot stop thinking about it and I want to reread it immediately. But it is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. Now, we're going to blame Riley Marie for this one because I've picked this up because of her, but I fucking love this book. This book is so messed up, but I fucking loved it. This is a dark romance. I don't know how to explain this book without spoiling it and going too deep into it with the spoilers. Check out the trigger warnings, please do that. But essentially it's a kidnapping. So this one follows Cora. She goes out for her sister's birthday party and then she ends up really, really drunk, and what she doesn't anticipate is a walk of shame home. She also doesn't anticipate that her wallet and her phone get stolen. Now she ends up with Dean, who is her sister's boyfriend, picking her up. Her arch nemesis, she absolutely hates him. They hate each other. They go back and forth all the fucking time, just taking chunks out of each other. And then she wakes up shackled in a basement with Dean next to her, also shackled in a basement. They've been kidnapped together. Now, this period of time goes on for quite a long time. I don't know how long specifically, but it goes on for quite a long period of time, and she is struggling with the fact that A, she's been kidnapped, B, she's been kidnapped with her arch nemesis Dean, and C, she's in general, the whole thing is a fucking mess, you know? It's a mess. This book involves obviously kidnapping, sexual assault, rape, so be wary of those going in because it's quite detailed as well. Do be wary of those going in. This book is messed up. When I tell you it's messed up, it is messed up. There was a point in time where I was reading it and I was like, why the fuck am I reading this? Why am I doing this to myself? But this book is also incredibly thought-provoking and just so, I don't know how to, beautifully written. I don't know whether that's the right way to explain it or not, but so beautifully written and so powerful that it's been stuck in my head since I read it. It's been stuck in my head. I can't stop thinking about it. I am obsessed with it. The writing style, everything that happens to both Cora and Dean within this book, and the way that their bond just grows and grows and grows while they've been captive, and everything that happens to them and the way that they manage to survive, and then the trauma following that, how they actually deal with everything that they went through together following on from this horrific thing. It was incredible. I don't know what to say. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but it was incredible and I'm incredibly passionate about this book. Riley Marie, this is on you. Phenomenal. Obsessed, phenomenal. I don't know what to say. I'm obsessed. It was great. Pick it up. Watch the trigger warnings, please. But you know, if someone wants to pick it up and discuss it with me, that would be great. I would really appreciate it. So those are my top 10 books of 2022. As you can see, very heavily romance, but we did have a horror in here like I promised. We had a fantasy romance and we had 2 cozy fantasies as well, with an element of romance as such, if you like. So very heavily romance based. This essentially could have been my top 10 romances of the year, to be perfectly honest. Maybe I should have done it that way around instead. But there is a horror in there, so, you know, it is what it is. We're going to see if we can get some more fantasy and horrors on my top 10 for 2023 this year, but I assume it'll probably be heavily romance based again. I don't know, I'm trying to get back into my fantasy era. We'll see how that goes, but as you can see, I now have a solid collection of romances and also thrillers and horrors, so see how that goes. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Chat to me in the comments down below. Have you read any of these? Do you have any recommendations for me based off of these? Please give me some more of this, because I can't stop thinking about it. It's haunting and horrific and violating, but I'm obsessed with it, and I don't know how to explain that without me sounding like an absolute nut job. So chat to me in the comments down below. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.